Hello, 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 all my Ravens escapees. How's everybody doing today on this Tuesday? Still a little scratchy, but I'm getting better. Sorry about that. Um, we're working on it. I'm most of the way through my Z-Pack, so we'll see. Hopefully, voice will start coming back full force tomorrow or so. So how's everybody doing on Tuesday? I am still working on all sorts of Christmassy. I got more towels made. I'm working on a green towel right now. And it's like dark green. I have I have a couple more I have to tie ends in on. So I'm just working away, trying to use up this cotton yarn. This whole big box of cotton yarn I have. So what are you guys up to today on this Tuesday? I'm trying to record this quick before the kids get back from band camp so I can, I don't have a million people roaming around the house. Just got off the phone with my mom, so I'm a little, call her on Tuesdays. We have a chat. So not a whole lot new in the yarn or crocheting community that I know of. I've been I don't know. I've watching a couple different things. I did see that Russ from It's Raining Yarn is doing a collab with Aberdeen Wool. If anybody's interested, they did a whole It's Raining Yarn, 5 different colors, and they're really, really, really pretty. Now, I don't really work with wool. I sometimes, it all depends. But I do get an allergic reaction from some wool, so I don't tend to use it. I'm a little, especially, I'm like the hand-dyed wool is gorge. I mean, is gorgeous. And I would love to use some of it, but like I said, I have to watch with wool because I do break out from it. I remember when I was a kid, my mom used to make me wear those stupid wool stockings, and every time I got a rash from them. So, and she used to make me wear them anyway. She'd be like, "Oh, it's just because you were hot." No, I'm itchy and it's disgusting and they're awful. So, yeah, so I have to watch with wool. So I don't, the hand-dyed wool is gorgeous, and the prices she has on those, I think it's like $23 for a hank of the fingering wool. And it's like 400 some yards, which is really good for a hand-dyed superwash wool yarn. But I can't see spending 20 some dollars just to find out that I am allergic to it and can't use it. So I won't be ordering any, but anybody who's interested out there, it's called Aberdeen Wool. She's based in Canada, and the owner's name is Heather, and she is made, and they're beautiful colors. Especially, there's 2 of them that are, 2 or 3 of them. Yeah, 3 of them that are like these autumn colors. Oh my God. They're gorgeous colors. And then there's one that's like a blue. She called it summer, like end of summer sky or something like that. That's like the deep dark blues you see like in September in the sky. And then she did one, because the whole thing is supposed to be like autumn and autumn festivals. And so she did like one that's called Midway, and it's like white with like all kind of pretty speckled colors. So if that's something you guys are interested in, she said she's gonna do 50 of each color and then mail them out, and then restock, and then the second round is gonna have the sock weight or fingering weight and TK weight. So if that's something you're more interested in, I tend to not use the light wools or light yarns. So I wouldn't even consider the two or the ones. I'm more of a, I do threes, like 3 DK weight sometimes, but mostly it's, I'm a worsted kind of gal. I'm a 4 weight girl. Some 5 weights, occasionally a 6 weight. I don't like the super bulkies either, but so yeah, I'm just working away on my all my Christmas kitchen sets. I think they're gonna be nice. I hope they sell pretty well. I like a good holiday kitchen or bathroom set. You can actually use them in the bathroom too if you want. You can use like a hand towel and then 2 washcloths. So, people use them for all kind of different stuff. And like I said, I use my cotton washcloths for all kind of things. We use them we even clean up spills with them. And once they start getting ratty, we use them to clean the bathroom and the floor. I like to clean up a spill on the floor and stuff. I don't use my nice ones for that. The nice ones stay at the sink. But then they eventually start to get worn. But like I said, I have some of them for over 10 years. And yeah, they don't look the best because they use them all the time and wash them and wash them and wash them and wash them and wash them. But you're talking like we clean the bathroom with chemicals and all sorts of stuff, and they still hold up. You just throw them in the washer dryer, and I mean, like I said, some of them are a little stiff and some of them look a little crappy, but to clean the bathroom, who cares? You know what I mean? So, there's that. So, you know what I mean? They're good. They're not like something you're just going to get and have to get rid of. They are a very sustainable type of thing. So what else is new, guys? Anybody watch anything good? Anybody working on anything? Anybody? I don't know. I said I let's see, I watched some YouTube. I watch Rainn Wilson's podcast sometimes. He was the one that played Dwight Schrute on The Office, and he had the guy that played Andy Bernard at Helms on, and they were talking about the good old days. I love The Office. I've seen the whole series, I think 3 times now, straight through. And the 2 of them got together and they were talking about how that show, still people watch it to this day, and it's been off the air for like 12 years or something like that. And I'm like, well, we watched it. I watched it. I did not watch it when it was on. I watched it streaming later, and then I watched it again with my husband, and then we watched it again with the kids because the kids loved it. They thought it was hilarious, which it is. I mean, it's just a good show. Right now we're watching Parks and Rec with the kids, and then we watch like 2 episodes a night, so we're pretty far through that one. I'm trying to think what else, and then of course we're looking forward to watching Wednesday, but we're gonna finish Parks and Rec first, so that's on. And then I watched some YouTube. Who was I watching? I was watching Jax last night. Creations by Jax. And what else was I watching? Oh yeah, but I was watching the podcast with Rainn Wilson and Ed Helms, and they were talking about like how much fun they had making the show, and how they wished at the time they realized how good they had it. Like you don't realize until it's too late that you're experiencing the good old days. And that you're experiencing the good old days right now. And I'm like, oh my God, isn't that the truth? You know what I mean? Like sometimes you look back and you think like, I wish I would have appreciated that time period a little bit more. But then again, we don't realize it at the time, you know, that we're experiencing that time, that the good old days, you know what I mean? Like we don't, like looking back is 2020, right? You know? Well, that's an interesting, so not to get up on my soapbox, but I love when people like, I go on social media, who doesn't? And you see the news things, and of course I have to read the comments. And the town I live in, of course, it's a medium sized, it's pretty big. It's a pretty big town. And so of course every time something comes up, it's, well, it went to hell, you know. It went to hell in a handbasket. It went to shit. Years ago. Oh my God. Drives me crazy. Okay? Drives me crazy. And then the same with the town where, like, I went to high school, which was, I grew up in a very small town. I mean, it's bigger now, but it was really little when I grew up in it. And then I went to high school, of course, in a town like 3 towns or 4 towns over. It was where the high school was. And of course, like, I hear like people, well, we grew up, you know. No, I'm sorry. Y'all aren't remembering the same things that really happened, you know. Like, my dad grew up in the same town that I live in now, which is, like I said, it's a big town. And he grew up there. Now, he was born in 1942, so of course he grew up in the 40s, 50s, you know what I mean? Because he graduated high school in 60. So, you know, he grew up in the 40s and the 50s, which is, you know, the good old days. But he told me tons of stories about, like, oh, well, you didn't go here and you didn't go there. Even the neighborhood they lived in, like, after dark, you had to watch, you know. And when he worked this one job, you know, he had to walk all the way around this one area because you knew you couldn't walk through there to come home, and talked about the gangs and stuff that rode around in Allentown. And, okay, I live in Allentown, Pennsylvania. So, you know, but he used to tell me about all kinds of stuff. And then he used to tell me all the kinds of stuff that him and his buddies used to get in trouble. And I mean, he wasn't a bad kid, and yet still he used to tell me all kinds of stuff that they used to do, you know what I mean? And so every time I see, well, these kids these days, I'm like, no. You know, you didn't have a Ring doorbell camera to catch them. And now you blast them all over Facebook or whatever. You know what I mean? That annoys the heck out of me. Like, look, I understand. Okay. I love technology as much as the next person. And I get it. You know, you have, like, your cameras all over the place so you can see what happened on your property. Okay, but, like, it kills me is, like, somebody walked through my yard. And I'm like, do you know how many times somebody probably walked through your yard when you didn't have a camera? I mean, like, growing up, people walked through our yard all the time. I mean, the neighbors, we didn't go out to the street to walk around. We didn't go out to the alley to walk around. We walked through everybody's yard. Like, unless there was a fence, we walked through your yard, you know? Like, you knew whose yard you shouldn't walk through, but we thought nothing of walking through other people's yards. Like, it was just, you know, and like, if you needed to get, you know, around a street or something, I mean, you walked through somebody's yard. I mean, you weren't doing anything. You were just walking through, you know? So, like, these people are like, oh my God, somebody walked through my yard. Does anybody know this person? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, somebody walked through your yard. Like, okay. You know what I mean? Like, to me, it's not a big deal. To me, I'm like, okay, somebody walked through your yard. Like, they didn't do anything. They didn't hurt anything. They didn't, you know. Or, like, I love the ones where, like, somebody sits on their steps in, like, the middle of summer. And, like, oh, my God, somebody sat on my steps. Look at this. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, do you know how many times somebody probably sat on your steps? Like, you live on the street. It's hot. Maybe they're tired. Maybe they needed a break. They didn't do anything. They sat down on your steps, cooled off for a few minutes, and then walked on their way. I mean, like, is this the society we're in? Like, you know, and I get it. I mean, I get that the cameras are really helpful for crimes and things like that. But, like, again, like, you know, they put, like, these teenage kids, like this one guy, oh my God, I saw one the other week. This guy had a traffic cone on his gas meter, I guess for in the wintertime so that he didn't like back, or so he can see it so he doesn't back into it. Okay. And a kid took it. He put this poor kids on blast. Video, does anybody know who they are? I already called the police, blah, blah, blah. You know, this person stole my cone. And I thought, my God. You know, and what happened to this town? What happened to this town? I'm like, oh my God. Like, teenage kids haven't picked stuff up off of people's properties for years. Are you kidding me? Like, this is as old as time. You know what I mean? Like, give me a break. Give me a break. You know what I mean? They probably took it. They probably tossed it around, and you probably find it down the street somewhere. Like, give me a break. So, I just, you know, it drives me nuts when it comes to that kind of stuff. I don't like it. I don't like that they blast these kids and teenagers. And, like, you know, I was reading an article and they were saying, like, people were like, oh, teens don't hang out outside anymore and kids don't play outside and, you know, kids don't, you know, do the stuff that we used to. But, you know, I read this article and they were talking about how kids don't really have a place to go and do stuff like that anymore. Like, you know, we used to hang out at the mall. Well, now a lot of malls don't like kids to be there and have rules. Like, kids, you know, and teens have to have a parent or blah, blah, blah. Or if they do go and hang out, like, they get harassed by security. What are you doing here? What, blah, blah. Even if, you know, where we used to hang out in packs at the mall, I mean, like, that was what you did on a Friday night. You know what I mean? Like, as a teenager, we went to the mall. Like, I went to the mall a lot. You know, I had groups that we hung out with at this mall and that mall, and I went to the mall a lot. I mean, like, when I was in my, like, 15 or something, I used to go to the mall a couple nights a week. The little one that was close to the house, I used to go there a couple nights a week. I didn't even buy stuff. I mean, I just hung out with my friends. It was, you know, that's just what we did. And now a lot of places don't let them do that. They don't want kids there. They don't want teens there. Same with parks. Like, these kids go to hang out at the park. We used to go kick around the park all the time. You know, we used to go hang out in the pavilions and hang out and just chill. And, you know, sometimes we rode our bikes around. But, like, we used to just go out and chill out in the park and hang out and talk to our friends. We used to meet up. You know, a lot of people call the police and say, like, oh, these teenagers are at this park and they're hanging out. And then cops come in like this. So kids don't have this place to, like, hang out anymore. And I know that with my own kids because, like, I'm always like, you know, go out and play with your friends. We live where there's a lot of kids in the area. And I'm like, go out and play with your friends. But they used to go out when, you know, they were a little bit younger and hang out with a bunch of kids in the neighborhood. And I can't tell you how many times they came home because somebody didn't like that these kids were hanging out somewhere. And they're like 10, 11-year-old kids just hanging out. You know what I mean? They weren't even doing anything. They used to walk down to the park. They got harassed at the park. I mean, it's not like when we were kids where kids just hung out and people were like, whatever. You know, I mean, and it's true. Like I said, I see it with my own kids. Like, my kids do a lot of stuff at school now, like after school and stuff like that. And that's really the only place they can go, like, hang out. Because, like, my son, my older son has a couple of friends that they wanted to get together and hang out somewhere. And it was like, you know, we were trying to figure out somewhere for them to go hang out. And it's like, well, you know, do you want to go to the mall? And it's like, well, no, because they don't, the big mall that we used to go to hang out, like, they don't really, well, they don't want kids there unless they have parents there. And of course, they want to hang out without their parents. So, you know, and it's like, okay, you know, can you go to this? Well, no, you need a parent to go to that, you know. Do you want to just hang out in the yard? You know what I mean? But then they're like, well, you know, depending on where you're at, you know, now the neighbors are going to watch you and then they're going to complain and videotape you. And, you know, they don't want these kids just hanging out, you know what I mean? And it's like, you know, and then, like, even I've offered to have them come over here and hang out, but then, like, other people's parents don't want their kids hanging out at somebody else's house. And, ugh, it's just a whole thing. It really is. It drives me nuts. Like, you know, like, just, they don't really have anywhere. Like, we used to go hang out at our friends' houses, you know, and stuff like that. But now, like, they go do that and they're noisy. Then somebody's going to complain. It's a whole thing. It's really different nowadays. And I sound old, but, you know, like I said, I see it with my kids because I'm like, just go hang out with your friends. And it's like I said, they used to, and then we ended up with trouble with one of the neighbors. Like, they didn't like, oh, these kids are roaming around and we don't know what they're doing. And I'm like, well, did you see them do something bad? No. But why are they sitting on the rock over there? Like, they're talking. There's like a big rock at the corner and they were sitting on it and talking. Were they hurting anything? Were they doing anything to anybody? No, but they looked like they could get in trouble. You know, and then they were hanging out, like, because there's apartments across the street from us. They were hanging out, and one of the neighbors called the police on them and saying, like, oh, these kids don't belong over here, blah, blah, blah. But the kids that they were hanging out with lived in the apartment complex. And they were literally just sitting on the sidewalk. Like, I was watching them. They were sitting on the sidewalk across the street and on the hill. And they were just talking. And, like, maybe picked up a stick and were whacking it on the tree or whatever. Like, they weren't doing anything. They were doing kid stuff. And next thing I know, the cops pull up and they're like, where's your parents? You know, do you belong here? Do you, or, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, really? So, yeah. So everybody wants to complain that kids don't do stuff. But then anytime they want to go do stuff, then nobody lets them do stuff. You know, about, like, the only thing in our neighborhood that they can do without getting too much trouble is there's a little park that they can go play basketball at. But, like, our kids aren't sporty, so they don't want to go play basketball. They just want to hang out with their friends. It's really stupid. But, you know, and like I said, I mean, you know, people are like, oh, things are so different now. And I'm like, no, they're not. They're really not. I mean, obviously, some of the demographics and stuff are different, but other than that, I mean, you know, and of course, obviously, the towns have changed and people have come and, you know, gone and this and that, but it's, you know, things don't really change that much. Let's put it that way. So that's my soapbox for today. Sorry, I keep letting the light in. So what else? I hate to be on a negative note again. I said, I'm feeling somewhat better. I'm getting there. I'm trying to feel better every day. Doesn't always work that way. But we're trying. We're muddling. We're getting through. talking to my mother definitely didn't help. Ugh. It's hard when your parents get old. It's hard. It's really hard when your parents get old. Let's just put it that way. I mean, I know people say, you just be glad you have your mom still. Yeah. It's hard too, though. It's hard dealing with them when they age. So, yeah, you don't want to hear about that, though. I'm going to try to shake that off. It's bothering me. But, yeah, so, what else? I didn't really... Oh, the only other thing I wanted to talk about was, like, so I was talking to my husband yesterday, because, like, when they had that tsunami warning last week, after the earthquake in Russia, I saw all these viral videos about Oprah didn't open her road up, and Oprah's letting people die, and I'm like, obviously I don't know Oprah personally or anything, and I don't pretend to know, but, like, Oprah just doesn't seem like the type of person who would do that, like, who would just be like, screw them all, I'm not opening my road. And there was all these people putting videos out, and then there was this whole big call to cancel Oprah because she, wouldn't open her private road in Hawaii to her property. And despite the tsunami warning, those people had to go all the way around. Well, then I saw yesterday that she came out and the officials came out from Hawaii saying that was not true. It was never true. That they had opened the road 10 minutes after the tsunami warning was issued. That Oprah has given them permission to open the road anytime they need to. But the problem is it's just a small private road, and so they can't put too many cars on it at a time. So they had to limit the amount of cars on it because it would just have caused congestion. It's not like a big 2-lane paved road. It's like a single road going up there, up over the mountain. And so they can only send like so many cars at a time. And that's why they weren't sending more people that way. It was safer to put people on the big highway than to send them over the little road. So they were doing as many people as they could, but, again, it wouldn't have done them any good to have everybody just stop and wait to go over this road. So they were it was faster for people to go around on the highway. So I'm like, see, I just knew, like, when I heard it, I'm like, that doesn't sound right. She's just been a humanitarian, and her whole career, I can't imagine her being like, no, nobody's allowed on my road. I don't care if they die. People, everybody's so ready to cancel and stuff like that. So I did see that. So if anybody saw that, I just wanted to let you know that was not true. So I am going to let you guys go, though, because I'm losing my voice again. Hopefully, maybe tomorrow it'll be even better than it was today. So I hope everybody has a great Tuesday. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for listening. Choose love every day. Let me know in the comments what you are working on. Bye. Love you all.